I've been a profitable poker player every year for the past 6 years, and there are 5 mistakes you will never see good poker players make. I see them all the time at the tables, and they are costing you tons of money. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact errors beginners make, break each one down with real hand examples, and give you the fixes so you can start winning fast. This first one, I'm sure you've seen it before, or maybe you've even done it yourself. It's going to be donk betting for no reason. And just in case you don't know what a donk bet is, it's a bet when a player starts putting money into the pot essentially out of turn. It can also be referred to as a lead bet. Yes, poker does have a turn-based system, and we're going to see that here when I get dealt king queen offsuit in under the gun +1 position. Blinds are going to be 2-5, and a $10 straddle is going to be on. I am going to find a 3x open here, making it $30. It's going to fold all the way around to the villain and the straddle. They are going to be put it in the call. We're going to go heads up to a flop of 5-3 king, 2 diamonds. We have top pair, second best kicker. The hand is going to start out normal with villain putting in a check. I'm going to put in a continuation bet, making it $20 to go. Villain is going to be putting in a call. We're going to go to the turn, and it comes the jack of spades, and this is when things are going to start getting a bit interesting. My opponent is going to put out a donk or lead bet here on the turn. They put out a wager of $45. As I stated before, this kind of bet is going to be when you are acting completely out of turn. On the flop, notice my opponent checked because they were not the pre-flop aggressor. It is normal to check that spot. Also on the turn, because I put in a continuation bet on the flop, my opponent should just be finding a check here on the turn. You cannot just start having random leads in poker that don't add up or make any sense. Also, with me being in position here, it allows me to play perfectly against my opponent. I have top pair, really good kicker. A 50% pot bet isn't going to do much, so I will be putting in a call. We go to the river, and it comes the 5 of clubs. Villain is not going to slow down here. They're going to be putting in another donk bet on the river. This time is going to be almost the size of the pot for $170. This is just such a complex line to have in poker. I tend to take the Brandon Sligh, aka BS approach to poker. BS is going to stand for be simple. Sometimes it's not necessary to make the game of poker harder than it needs to be. With their huge bet size, I do go into the tank for a little bit. I am thinking about what my opponent is trying to say that they have here. If you look at the flop, my opponent isn't going to have pocket threes because odds are they would just be check raising this hand on such a wet board. We are also going to rule out pocket fives because it is another set and it would check raise the flop as well. We do notice that spades did come on the turn, and sometimes people feel the need to start leading a flush draw that did come in on the turn, or maybe go ahead and lead in a flush draw that they had on the flop. They could also have a random hand such as Queen 10, since they're going to be open-ended now. With the spade missing on the river, notice I'm going to beat all of these hands. I'm only going to be losing to one hand here. That one hand is going to be King Jack suited or King Jack offsuit. Because of that breakdown and being able to range my opponent on these hands, I will be winning majority of the time, so I will put in a call. As soon as I do call, villain folds their cards immediately. So as you notice, they were donking for no reason. If they had some type of pair in the hand, they would at least showed it at showdown, because sometimes they can still win, right? They had a stone cold bluff, and one advantage of being in a situation is that when players do donk for no reason, especially fish, because good players are not going to do this, we are going to be able to win more money against them. I am happy that they put in this free money for me, because maybe I don't make as much money putting in bets myself. And if you're enjoying the knowledge I am providing so far, you should check out my free weekly poker newsletter. I provide even more free tips and poker strategies that are going to continue improving your game. You can sign up by clicking the link in the top right corner of this video or by clicking the link in the pinned comments. Next hand, with a similar but different situation with donk betting, we're going to have King 2 suited on the button. Under the gun is going to put in a limp. It's going to fold around to me on the button. And as I have said before, when people are limping, you do want to put the pressure on them. Majority of the times they're going to have weaker holdings. And even if they do call, we want to make sure we are showing the most aggression at the table as we go to see the flop. I will be putting in a raise here, and I'm going to be bumping it up to $25. It's going to fold to my opponent in big blind. They're going to be putting in a call, and the under the gun limp will be coming along as well. This time we're going to go 3 ways to a flop of 10-6-9 rainbow. Big blind is going to check, under the gun checks, and on this specific board, I do not have much going for me here. So I'm going to find a check back here. We go to the turn and it's going to come to jack of clubs. Very good turn here. I am now drawing to the king high flush, or a queen can come to give me a straight. Big blind is going to check. Under the gun checks again. With both villains putting in 2 checks and not willing to put in money themselves, majority of the time this is going to be a sign of weakness. Sometimes I will be able to take down the pot here, so I will be putting in a bet. It is going to be a decent one. I put out a wager of $55. Big blind's going to put in a call, and under the gun is going to be laying it down. This is when the hand starts to get interesting. We go to the river and it's going to come to 5 of clubs, giving me the second nuts here with the king high flush. As we talked about before, when you are not the last aggressor, you should not be donk betting for no reason. Here we're going to see it happen again when villain decides to put out a lead bet for $50. In this specific spot, that bet is only about 27% of the pot. People who play poker tend to do this when they are trying to just get a cheap showdown. And now, of course, having a really good hand, we are going to be going for a raise in position. We're going to be going all in, which I like to call an Aunt Jemima moment for anybody who is new here. And after a couple of seconds, villain is going to lay it down. So notice villain did not even lead with a hand strong enough that was capable of calling the raise on the river. Also, they put in a donk bet on a river that shifts equity in a huge way. Good players do not do this for no reason. So make sure you start paying more attention to donk bets in your game. And when you see the hand go to showdown, make sure you take a note of what your opponent shows up with. This would be key information for playing the specific villain throughout your session. The next mistake not only affects beginners, but it even affects people who play the game professionally. I have seen this exact problem with close friends who play poker. I have also witnessed it with people who I have coached. The mistake is being emotional over bad beats. For the specific hand showing this, we're going to get dealt pocket queens, the ladies. And if you are new here, pocket queens are my favorite hand. And we're going to be in small blind position. Blinds are going to be 5-10 with a $20 straddle on. While this hand is playing out, I'm going to show you the exact highs and lows of poker that everybody, no matter how good you are at the game, experience on a daily basis. We're starting off at cutoff position. Villain is going to be finding a 3x open for $60. It gets to me in the small blind, and we're going to be putting in a 3-bet, of course. My hand is too strong. I'm going to be raising it up to $250. Goes back around to my opponent, and they are going to be putting in a call. We're going to go heads up to a flop of 2-9 queen rainbow. Beautiful flop. We have top set in a 3-bet pot. We're going to start putting more money in here with a continuation bet. I grab my chips, put it in a small wager of $150. After a couple of seconds, villain is going to be putting in a call. We go to the turn and it's going to come a 7 of hearts. 7 of hearts doesn't really do much in this situation. We still have the essential nuts here with top set. I will be firing out a bet here on the turn. I grab my chips and put out a bet of $540. I'm feeling great, of course, right? I just want my opponent to have something, anything here to put in a call. And after 10 to 20 seconds, instead of calling, villain announces they're going to be all in. I am at the highest peak you can possibly be ever in a hand in poker. I have the nuts. My opponent is going all in. I feel I should win this hand almost every single time. Life is good, and I'm going to be snap calling. We're going to go to the river, and it comes the Jack of Clubs. My opponent is going to turn over 10-8 of clubs in this spot. That's going to be a straight, and they're going to destroy my top set. Now let's break down the emotions and how you can handle this situation. My opponent goes all in with only about 18% equity since they have 8 outs. They're going to have only 15 to 16% equity if one of their outs have been folded by another poker player at the table. Mathematically, if this spot were to happen 5 times, I should win it 4 and I should lose it 1. Is it a bad beat? Yes, but the goal is you have to keep a positive mindset while you're playing poker. It is very easy to fall into focusing on the negative of this situation. In the current moment, I lose an entire buy-in. Your brain is not going to think about all the times where you get it in here and won, right? That's just a negative attribute of the human mind. And believe it or not, you can train to break that habit. How I look at it is I got it in good with a high percentage equity. And in the long run, I'm going to be printing a large amount of money in this spot. Losing once will not make you a losing player. What you do after the loss is what will determine the consequences. You have to do your best to stay calm and collected. If you are getting tilted, one thing I have done myself is I get up from the table, I walk around the casino or the poker room for 10 to 15 minutes just to cool off. I'll go grab a snack or a bite to eat. Trust me, the game and the players are going to still be there when you return. This is going to help your body, mind, and soul have that full reset that it needs so that you are able to continue playing your A game. This time we're going to get dealt pocket aces and we're going to be on the button. It's going to fold around to low jack. They're going to start out with a $5 limp. Cutoff is going to be put it in a call. And easy decision here, right? I will be putting in a raise and I will be bumping it up to $30. Folds back to my opponent in low jack. They're going to be putting in a call and cutoff is going to be coming along as well. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop of 4-6-4 rainbow. This is a very good flop for aces, not too wet of a board. We're only going to be behind to some random 4x. Low jack is going to check. And even though I put in a raise pre, my opponent, who is not the pre-flop aggressor, is going to essentially put in a donk bet here. We can see that the lessons are starting to overlap a little bit, but for this hand, we're still going to be focusing on being emotional about bad beats. With being in position and controlling all the action, I am comfortable with just putting in a call here. Low jack is going to be laying it down. So it's going to be 2 of us now going to a turn, and it's going to come my lady, the queen of spades. Villain is going to be putting in the double barrel donk lead at this point. It's not a big wager though. They just make it $55 to go. Now I want to give some context to this opponent before I show what I'm about to do. I've played with them for a couple of hours and they have played any 2 cards. So their range is going to be the entire deck. Yes, they will sometimes have a 4 here, but I have seen this line so many times with a bunch of different hold-ins. Majority of the time, they just have some pair of some sort. So with having that specific villain information, we're going to go for the raise in position, and I'm going to be bumping it up to $175. Villain is going to be putting in a 3-bet jam here. I am still not that worried because I have seen them get in the craziest hands for the entire session. I will be snap calling. We go to the river and it comes my lady, the queen of hearts. My opponent is going to turn over queen 6 offsuit. Now let's put this into perspective again. With aces here on the turn, get it in. Villain is going to have about 8 to 9% equity. They're going to have 6 outs, possibly 5 if somebody else at the table already folded a queen or a 6. This means for every 10 times this situation happens and I get it in here, I will win 9 times and lose that sad once. Let's multiply that even more. When this situation happens 100 times, I will win about 91 to 92 times versus losing 8. That's the math behind it. And because of those numbers, I am completely fine with what just happened. It's completely upsetting when you have a good hand, especially aces, and you don't find a win, but we cannot win every single time we have the best hand. That's not how the laws of math work. Having a strong mindset goes a long way at the poker table. Ultimately, from now on, if you do struggle and are emotional with bad beats, I want you to focus working on your mental while you are at the table and off the table. It has taken me a lot of time to get there, but it really does pay dividends for all your future sessions. The third mistake that good players never do is going to be bluffing the fish or recreational player that's at the table. We're going to see this play out in real time when I get dealt 6-5 suited in under the gun position. I'm going to be opening for $15. It folds to my opponent in low jack. They're going to be putting in a call. Folds to the villain on the button. They call, and it makes its way to the big blind. They're going to be putting a call too. So it's going to be 4 of us going to a flop of 4-7-9 rainbow. We do have an open-ended straight draw here. Big blind is going to check. I'm going to be checking. Villain and low jack checks, and the button is going to check too. We're going to go to the turn, and it comes the 2 of hearts. Now we picked up some additional flush draw equity. Big blind is going to check. I'm still going to be checking. Villain and low jack is going to be putting in a bet. They make it $30 to go. Button puts in a call. Big blind is going to be laying it down. And instead of taking the passive route here, which would be just putting in a call, I'm going to be turning up the aggression, going for the check raise. And it's going to be a massive one. I bump it all the way up to $160. In this spot, I would rather see both people fold because I do not have a made hand yet. Unfortunately, villain and low jack is going to be putting in a call, but button is going to be laying it down. We're going to go to the river, and it comes the ace of diamonds. Now, I know you viewers are looking at this hand and see that I have 6 high. That's it. Will I ever win this hand at showdown? No. While playing a 2-5 lower stake game, will my opponent fold here if I go all in after they initiated the bet-in on the turn and called my massive check raise? Once again, the answer is no. Sometimes you have to understand in poker when you have to relax. You do not always have to go ahead and bluff it off when you don't have it. At lower stakes, a lot of people will put in the money so bad. Sometimes it's an advantage to just bet when you do have a hand, especially when you make it to the river. I have seen people call all-ins with 3rd pair, 4th pair, and it would be in a spot that doesn't really call for it. Just do not find a lot of bluffs against players who are not capable of folding. People just don't fold at lower stakes that much. And yes, once in a blue, they will fold the river when you go all in and just have a bluff. But if you remember, what did I say I like to do? I like to take the Brandon Sligh approach, aka the BS approach. That means we just want to be simple. Don't make poker harder than what it needs to be. So I will be checking. Villain is going to announce that they are all in. This is a pot-sized bet all in. Of course, I'm going to be laying down my cards, but do you think for a second with them going all in that I would ever got a fold? Of course not. Ultimately, don't bluff the fish at the table. Learn when you have to give up. And if you want to continue becoming a better poker player at the table with more free tips and poker strategies, make sure you join my free weekly newsletter. You can sign up by clicking the link in the top right corner or by clicking the link in the pinned comment of this video. The next mistake good poker players do not make is going to be overplaying top pair. You have to be extremely careful with top pair, especially in wide range scenarios. We're going to have one of those scenarios right here when I get dealt ace queen suited in under the gun position. I'm going to be opening for $15. We are going to see multiple callers. Low jack puts in the call. It makes its way around the cutoff. They call. Small blind and big blind are both going to be coming along as well. We're going to be five-handed, going to a flop of 2 ace-4, 2 diamonds. Extremely good flop, right? I have top pair and the second best kicker I'm ever going to have in this spot. Keep in mind, ranges are extremely wide here, especially in a single raise pot. Small blind is first to act here, and even with this pot having 5 other people in it, they are just going to start donk betting multi-way. They put out a wager of $40. Big blind's going to be laying it down. With top pair, I'm going to be putting in a call. Low jack is going to be laying it down. Cutoff will be folding too. With heads up going to the turn, and it's going to come to king of clubs. Small blind is going to continue donk betting. It's going to be almost a pot-sized wager. They make it $125. They are not slowing down here at all. I still do have to defend here in position, so I will be putting in a call. We go to the river, and it comes the 7 of spades. Now on the river, my opponent is putting in that triple barrel donk bet, and they make it $275. They do size down a little bit from the turn, but the main issue here is that I only have top pair, really good kicker. When a player has the nerve to donk multi-way, when they're first to act, on the flop, barrel the turn, and then find a third bet on the river, you're just not going to win here. I know that some viewers may say, what if they have a flush draw? But we have to keep in mind, would a flush draw do this enough where this is going to be a profitable call? The answer is going to be no. So I am confidently going to lay down my cards, not being attached to my top pair. The best players know how to find the best folds with just one pair. Another mistake good poker players just don't make is going to be playing in bad poker games. I'm going to give 4 scenarios of poker games that are going to illustrate this. For each of these scenarios I'm about to give, at a general 5-10 game, I will be considering myself as a very strong reg at the table. By being a strong reg, this means I will be better than any other reg at the table. It's not going to be a small edge, it's going to be a significant edge over each villain. In the first scenario, we're going to have 7 other players at the table. Each person is also going to be a reg. Some of them may be okay regs, some of them may be bad regs, but at the end of the day, they play this game pretty often. Even though I have an advantage, I still would not want to play in this bad of a game. Earlier in my career, I used to have an ego and would be okay with reg battling. And sometimes I still am okay with it, but majority of the times I do not do it anymore. I am here to make money and make a living, and if there's another table running that I can play at, even if it is going to be a lower stake such as 2-5, I have no problem getting up from the table and moving myself to the better game. The second table we're going to be at is going to have a different layout. This time, there are going to be 5 other regs who may be okay or bad, but there are going to be 2 recreational or fish players to my direct left. This game is going to be a lot better because majority of your winnings in poker are going to come from people who are not that good. This is just how the poker ecosystem works. Yes, sometimes in this game, I am going to win money off the regs, but in the long run, the fish are going to make the most mistakes. The third scenario is going to be better than the second one, even though it has the same player types at the table. This time, we're going to have 5 other regs who can be bad or okay. This time, though, the fish are going to be seated to our direct right. Why does this make a difference so much? Because now I am going to be able to play the fish being in position. Both fish and recreational players make a lot of mistakes playing out of position. Compared to scenario 2, where I was to the right of the fish, this is going to be a much better situation. You would be surprised how much more money you can capitalize on in your game by being seated to the left of the fish versus being seated to the right of the fish. The fourth scenario we're going to talk about is going to be the pure gold layout at a poker table. Only one other player is going to be a reg. 4 other players at the table are going to be fish. And the final 2 players, also seated to my right, are going to be whales. This layout is going to be the most profitable game to be in. I have 6 individuals that I will be able to maximize my profits off of. Yes, sometimes in this game, I will get into a couple of hands with the reg, which is all right. But my main focus is going to be winning from the 6 other bad players at the table. If you are ever in this spot, you want the game to go on as long as possible. This is a spot that even if I'm in it, I don't mind playing extra because it just doesn't happen that often. At the end of the day, when I'm playing poker, I want to win money. And if you want to win as much as I do, make sure you master these 5 poker strategies in this next video.